Are we live? We're live. Hello. Sorry, I can barely see the screen because the sun. And this is Megan.
Hello.
She's delightful. She writes YA dystopian and romantasy.
I write YA dystopian, epic fantasy, some romantasy. So like basically if it's spec fic, I love it.
Excellent. And we are in Idaho for a writing retreat, which is magical. I'm going to turn this around and show you this river. We wanted to do it with the river behind us because look how pretty, but also then we'd be able to see, but you wouldn't be able to see us. So if you watched my video yesterday, my 3-minute video, when I was in the swing and it was like anytime I swang around, but yeah.
We do have some really epic outdoor seating options here for social media. Yes. I have been enjoying that particular part of this stay very much.
Because you do a lot of like TikToks and stuff, right?
I do a lot of TikTok and Instagram videos and things like that.
Cool. That's pretty fun. I do not. I just do this. And I do this way because I used to try to do like TikTok and stuff. And what would happen is I would like get really into it and I would like write scripts and like do a zillion takes and like make sure everything was perfect, and then I would burn out after a week. And so I'm doing these live because
then you can't perfect it. It's done.
So this is my real author channel, warts and all. This is what it's like to be an author / alive in the world today. And I don't know where to look because usually we do like everyone's on their own computer, in like separate states and or countries.
I mean, we could just look at the screen because I can see you through the screen. This works.
All right, but then I can't talk to you. All right, well, I hope I'm not talking too loud because I'm trying to make sure that the river isn't there. But I feel weird. Like usually there's no weirdness like with this, and also like when I'm talking to you, but apparently you combine them, and I feel weird.
Well, okay. How much do you talk about your books on this channel? Because we're at an author retreat right now, and it's been amazing because it's a small group. There's 17 of us or something like that. So we've actually gotten to talk about each other's series a lot. So you are bridging 2 of your series together, right? Or they're already bridged, and then you're looping in another one.
So I have 2 series currently published. My Rise of Witch series is my paranormal comedy situation. My Matilda Holiday series is like straight up urban fantasy with like a thriller vibe. And then in a few months, I'm going to start publishing my new series, which is a spin-off from Matilda Holiday. So 2 of the characters in Matilda Holiday, which if you've read my books, it's Sister Margaret and Trevor, 2 fan favorites. So, and 2 characters I particularly just like really love.
Oh, don't you love that when the ones that you love are the ones that the readers love too?
Yes. And so they are now the main characters of the series, and they're about to become embroiled in this like epic cryptid war, which is super fun because, I mean, who doesn't love an epic cryptid war? But also like hitherto, nobody in this world knew that there were cryptids, as far as my readers know. So, spoiler, in Rhymes with Witch, the witches do know that there are cryptids, and in fact, witches are cryptids, but that's not really a spoiler, I wouldn't have said it. But you didn't know that when you read them, did you? So now the world is open, and these mages have found out that there are cryptids, and Sister Margaret and Trevor are working for the Vatican, which is interesting too, because of course Sister Margaret is a sister. She's nun. She's not actually a nun. Nuns live in convents. I was raised Catholic. I know these things, but you don't probably, so I don't call her that. Although she does like correct people a couple times. Anyway, so she's obviously Catholic and like very strong believer in Catholicism. Trevor is an atheist.
Oh.
But he's working for the Vatican because he had all these experiences in the last series that really kind of ruined him for working as a checkout person at a grocery store. And also he has a doctorate in history. And
that would be really useful.
And he's a warrior now, and he, is a mage now. He's not a mage at the beginning of the last series. He doesn't know magic exists, but he had all these experiences, and now he can't go back to his regular life. So he and Sister Margaret team up. They're working for the Vatican. as warrior mage librarians, which is this like very prestigious elite group of warriors who go around to all of the Vatican's secret libraries and like defend them from like accidentally summoned demons or like mages who are attacking the library to get some kind of arcane wisdom or artifact or something. But they end up being the emissaries from the Vatican to the Cryptid Collective Summit.
Okay.
And so they end up being kind of the point people for the Vatican as they're allying with this cryptid group. And then they end up fighting a war with the Cryptid Collective against cryptids who don't want humans involved in cryptid affairs.
Okay.
So it's like very epic global scale. Like I'm calling it epic urban fantasy because it's still urban fantasy. Like it's still set in our world, but it's on a global scale. There are battles. There's, like epic fantasy style problems are happening, but in an urban fantasy setting.
I like that. That's really cool.
And a lot of the cities, the urban, are cryptid cities. So there's a dragon city in I almost said Atlantis. That's a spoiler. In Antarctica, there's a Salashifter city, which Salashifters are one of the cryptids I made up. They are basically lizard shifters with firepower. So like, in like medieval alchemy, you have the salamanders.
Yeah.
So they are where that myth came from.
Okay.
Salashifers. But they're from Ethiopia, and they have a city in the Dalal Valley, which is also called the Gateway to Hell, which is the name of book 2 of the series. And so they end up going there, and the city is very small because the Salashifers in one of their forms, in their main form, are very small. So they end up having to be like shrunk down so that they can get into the city, which is kind of fun. And then it's also fun too because Trevor is his mother came from Ethiopia, so he's like getting to see his kind of ancestral home, which I did a lot of research on Ethiopia for this, and it was very difficult because all the internet will tell you is that they're poor, and I'm like, yeah, I know that. That's not what this is about. Like, I am a white person. I am not trying to write a book about the experiences of Africa. That's not okay.
You want the geography.
Yeah, I want the history. I want, the language.
The mythology.
Yes.
Looking into the different mythologies from different parts of the world, it's amazing. Like, I love getting to pick and choose, especially in urban fantasy, where you're like, I want this one from African mythology and this one from, or maybe it's just me. Do you stick normally to like one grouping of like,
oh, hell no.
I know, some people do though.
Yes.
Which I guess I should be impressed.
Yeah. Well, part of the reason that I picked cryptids is because they're everywhere. They're from everywhere. And a lot of the cryptids that I'm talking about are usually considered more like paranormal creatures. Like I have dragons, I mentioned. I have vampires. I have werewolves. But they're cryptids, right? So the vampires are not people who've been turned into vampires. They were born vampires. Ooh. And they continue to be vampires. Like that's just, however, they are one of the few species of cryptids who can reproduce with humans. So you do have like part vampire people in the world.
Okay.
And then I have, the stereotypical, like I have Bigfoots, I have Mothmans. That is the plural in my land because, of course, Mothmans. Yeah. Because I mean, like in cryptidness, cryptozoology, there's only one Mothman, right?
Oh.
But in my world, it's a species. So there are Mothmans, and some of them are women.
Yeah. So I'm creating like this world lore now that goes with my book Sketchbook of a Wayward Seer, which is the one that I write with the Page by Page podcast. Uh-huh. And so I use mostly Greek mythology, but I'm tweaking all the things a little bit. And so it's all those things where it's like, okay, like there should be one Mothman. And so it's like Hecate is Hecate. Like that is. But I wanted her to have like branch off, like almost like children's species that come from it. So then it's like Hecatean, How do you say those things?
Hecations.
Hecations? Oh, I like that.
Oh, no, because it should be hecatations.
Hecatation.
Hecatations.
But it's like when you're twisting, like
Yeah.
cryptids are like, wait, I want the root of to be, but heck, how would I spell that plural? Or, like, it is weird. Those things that trip you up.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I, like, the other day made up a new cryptid and I needed a name for it. And I was like, at first, and I've talked about this one on my channel, so if you've seen the Sharkacorn video where I talk about that, but that can't be the name because those are English words that I've crammed together. And the Sharkacorn is an interdimensional being that makes it sound like he's like ephemeral, but he's a cryptid, you know, or they are cryptids. But they left our dimension long ago, like, so they wouldn't have an English name. Like, my characters can decide to call him that, and I think they will, but his actual name needs to be in a language that occurred or that was available when they were here on Earth. And so because they're native to the Caribbean, I decided to use, and I don't know how to pronounce it, it might be Tainu or Teanu. I've only seen it written, but it's the indigenous language of the Caribbean, which I found like 2 websites that have a list of like 20 words each because it's a dead language, you know?
Wow.
And so, but I looked up like shark, and I found like, I can't remember what the other one I did was, but it was like I mashed together 2 words, and one of them was shark, and called it a day. And I think the word ended up being, oh, this would be such a better story if I could remember the word. But it's a word that I made up, but it was based in Tainu or something. I don't know. And then I have my Kalampa Amaru, which is another one I made up. And they are mushroom shifters. And they were accidentally created by a witch who happened to be an Incan priestess.
Okay.
And she was doing a blessing on a plate of mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And accidentally made it a spell.
Oh.
And they became sapients and became cryptids. And so I used the language of the Incans, which there's a lot more of that available. And I mashed some words together, and I think it's like mushroom snake. And that's the Kalampa Amaru.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did she eat any of them, or did she figure out they were sentient first?
No, she did not eat any of them because
can you imagine me like,
well, I think they would have started growing.
Okay.
Like they would have started, like morphing into their whole deal.
Okay.
So, but they can take any shape they want. And they live with the snakes on Snake Island, which is an actual island off the coast of Brazil that people are not allowed to go to because there are so many snakes and they are so venomous and they spit their venom because their prey is birds. And they're so cute. They're like these little yellow snakes and they're adorable. And I like
They're
snakes.
just little yellow murder snakes?
Yeah. But the Kalampa Amaru keep them as pets in my books.
That would be adorable as long as it can't kill you. Just a little bit of a messy cleanup if they keep spitting,
Yeah, they can't kill a mushroom.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I love cryptid creation. It's so fun.
Yeah. But tell me more about your little witch people.
Oh, so in the world that I'm creating for Laurel, there was a split in supernaturals at about the time of King Arthur.
Uh-huh.
So it goes back.
Yeah.
It all in live languages, so I am not as brave as you. I do not have that dedication. I stick to Norse, Latin, like the ones where I can look up.
Those are both technically dead languages,
but they have so many more resources.
Yeah. And there's languages that are derived from them that are still active. Yeah.
So in this world, supernaturals
use. Is that a comment? There's a comment. Oh, no, there's not. Sorry, it's just saying that there's comments. I can't see the screen.
So in this world, supernaturals used to live out among man.
Sure.
And it started getting too dangerous. So the Library of Alexandria was deliberately burned.
Sure.
By supernaturals to erase that information.
Love it. Supernatural conspiracy theories.
Yes. So they erased their existence from the text to try and start going more underground. It didn't work as well as they wanted, and in this supernatural world, the dragons were the protectors of the supernatural.
Okay.
But they're big. They were being hunted into extinction by King Arthur's court.
Sure.
So in a last-ditch effort to protect the supernaturals, they created seers with the purpose of these sibyls being able to help protect the supernaturals.
So these are humans that
They are born of supernaturals, but like a werewolf can give birth to a sibyl, and that sibyl is not going to be a wolf. They're not going to be able to shift.
Okay.
They may have a wolfish temper. They may like be a faster runner, but they're not going to be like a werewolf.
Interesting.
So they lose that element of their supernatural to be a seer, and they are born that way. But the intent was to have these seers be able to see what is coming in the world and be able to protect.
Okay.
Not all supernaturals agreed to this pact
Okay.
because they had to be able to blend in from their form in order to live in the supernatural world.
Sure.
So they're giving up some of their supernatural self. So like wolves can only shift at the full moon.
I love
Vampires
that. Yeah.
they can't shift at all. Like they are just vampires. There is no alternate form. So they're giving up something in order to choose the human world, and that is the pact that creates the sibyls.
Okay.
So those are the Ethereans. And then the supernaturals who kept their true forms, but are being hidden from the real world, are Arabites. And then creating like, okay, so I know all of my Etherean species who are there for the pact, I have. But as I'm going deeper into the Arabite world and the darker things, I wanted to have, because some of the witches are Ethereans, but there are darker kinds of witches that aren't in the pact.
Have you read Anne Bishop's The Others series?
No, I haven't.
You should.
Okay, I'll check it out. Can you remind me when we're done? Because I'm going to forget. So that's what I wanted the Hecatians, Haitians, whatever it is to be. And then under them are three kind of succubus witch-ish species.
Okay.
So there's Lamia, who get all their power from killing children. There are Morans, who get their power from hunting the wicked. There's another one that gets their power from hunting specifically men. So it's like all of these witch hunters that have different things. And so I created all of them, and I'm like, okay, but they had like, where did they come from?
Yeah.
So then it's like, well, they're all descendants of Hecate, but one branch of her lineage went this way, and the other three went that way.
Yeah.
But like trying that separation.
I really love like, I want to go back to when you said like the werewolves can only shift at the full moon. So like, these are things that we just accept about werewolves, but like in your world, that's something that came about because of this, like
to help them hide. So they are in full human form, except at it.
Yeah.
So they used to be able to shift. They used to be stronger. They used to have more animalistic traits.
Yeah.
But they can't do that and live in a human world.
Which is interesting because I feel like it's often part of a mythology that like these supernatural creatures or gods or demigods or whatever they are have a weakness that humans can exploit. And in your world, they didn't used to have that until they needed to blend in with humans. And so humans almost just are their weakness.
Yeah, because they wanted to live in the world, to not have to hide.
And as parasites, we took over and made that harder.
Yeah, so there are Arabite communities hidden, and there are Arabites that exist, but they are hidden in the dark. They are kept away. They are not getting to live in the sun and have their kids go to school. Like, no, they're still stuck in that demon kind of world.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had a lot of fun creating that mythology.
Yeah, and you said this is the one you're doing your podcast on.
Yeah, so that's kind of, it made it so that I can have more mythology in it, because normally like you write a book series and you have all of this extra world building in your head and you're like, yay, canon, no one's ever gonna know. But the cool thing about the podcast is I get to just like be like, hey, so this didn't make it in the chapter, but just so you know, this is how the switch line came to be. And so I get to like actually tell people those things, and I think that's why this may sound bad, but I think that's why I've charted everything so much more thoroughly, because I know that I get to use it. So I'm not just like,
bad. Why do you think that sounds bad?
Because it feels like I don't, like I normally phone it in, and I don't. It's just I normally create like, okay, this is the block that I need. Cool. But I'm like way beyond what I need. Yeah. Just because I'm like, but I can tell, like the burning of the Library of Alexandria is never going to come into the plot. Like that's not, but it happened, and it's like present in the world. And now readers who do the podcast, or I write like little blogs that are like different things from the world, so I can actually do it that way.
Well, like, okay, so you and I both have a theater background, right? And so when you were in college, you majored in theater, right?
Dance, but yeah.
Okay, so when you were in college, did they teach you, like, when you have a role, while you're kind of, like, easing into that role, you write down, like, speculations, like, you do a character sketch of, like, things that are not in the script, but just things about the character that you think exists, and then that helps you get into your character. It's the same thing with world building.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just like went maybe a little overboard this time because the Arabites haven't actually appeared in that book at all.
But they could appear in future books?
Well, right now what I'm doing, because it's in between seasons, and I may have underestimated how hard the podcast was going to be to maintain.
Yeah.
So it kind of killed me off my other writing things. I just haven't been able to keep up.
Yeah.
And I'm traveling right now, so I'm doing it in between season, and it's a series of emails to an unknown person from my protagonist's mother.
Okay.
So back when she was like 23, it's these emails she's sending. And she is not the protected Sybil who has been always kept safe because she has to be kept safe. Like, there's no way Arabites can get near her. She's a Sybil. No. But her mother ended up with a bunch of Arabites and sleeping with an Arabite. And so because I'm doing this in-between season where it's emails from her mom, and each of them is kind of like a short story that she's telling her friend.
Sure.
I get to like have the Arabites.
That's so cool.
It's really fun. And because it's in email form, and because since it's in email form, I'm not building out every person who has a name. I know I'm not going back to these people, so I don't have to create a full character profile for every damn name I mention. I don't have to do that. And so it's so much faster to just be like, and here's the world.
Yeah.
And so it's been a lot easier to maintain on the schedule, and also just like really fun.
Yeah, you're just having fun. And you could do a collection of those like in the future, and just like they're already written, you know, you wrote them for this project. And now you can like give them to your readers in the future, and I'm sure they will be like super thrilled.
Well, I have it because I do the podcast and then I do on Substack. So with those chapters, I've been putting them out on Substack so that my readers can read them that way.
Okay.
So it's been really fun, and I'll probably eventually like compile them into like a little novella that I can send to readers or something. But just like getting to do this like fun little side, like here's her mom when she was in her early 20s and having a hard time. And she's also like in Manhattan where I've lived, which is not where the book takes place. So it's cool to like have like this whole other scene, whole other group of like cryptid supernatural things going on. So
yeah. Awesome. Okay. Do you want to go ahead and tell these people where they can find your podcast?
Sure. You can find it, the Page by Page podcast. You can find it basically anywhere that you want to find your podcast. We're on all the major platforms. If you like reading the blog posts and stuff with the world building, then all of that is on Substack. You can find Page by Page podcast on Substack, and all of that is accessible right there. And we have a lot of fun on the podcast. It's me and my husband, who is a professional actor. So every week I write a new chapter of the book, and then it goes out audiobook style along with other shenanigans on the podcast. So
cool. And I will link to that in the description. I'll edit it after this. And where can they find your books?
You can find my books at all the major retailers. And if you like signed copies and swag, you can also visit meganolrussell.com, because I have some pretty cool epic fantasy maps and stuff that go out with my paperbacks.
Hell yeah. Oh, also, if you live in Florida, she does a lot of events in Florida where she lives.
Yes, I love events. So yeah, if you're a Florida person, contact me on Instagram or something, and I'll tell you where I'm going to be.
Yay. Okay. Bye. Now we got to do the thing. We got to find the thing because I can't see anything. And there's the button. There's the button. End stream. And then I have to hit the other button. End stream. And then it takes a second. Hi.